The rich steal. They don't make money with investments like you've been told. Instead, they steal ideas that work and add a small little twist to them. David Fogarty is now worth 170 million, and what he did was he took products that were winning in the US and then he took them into the Australian market. Bolt is a company which is basically a copy and paste of Uber, Bird with scooters and whatnot, and now they're worth 8.4 billion. All they did was they took the same idea and just put it in the Eastern European market. And this is not a bad thing. A lot of times it's very difficult to start a business with no idea in mind. You don't know whether it's gonna work. You need to spend a lot of money. With this, you can find things that work. Just add value by taking them to a new market and making them easier to buy in these new markets. Now, this is just one of the 5 weird things rich people do. And number 2 is odd hobbies like collecting watches, going golfing, or even race car driving. This is important because if you want to network and meet rich people, you have to go and know a little bit about these different things. A great example of this, I actually went to a mastermind called Geek Out Dubai, and in there I found a guy who was making $100 million a year with Amazon. And a lot of times these different hobbies, they lead to great friends, and these can be great conversation starters. Because if you see someone with a nice watch or a watch that's, not particularly popular, and you can talk about them, that's always a great conversation starter. I actually met the owner of a jewelry brand at another event in London just by looking at his watch, and I noticed he had just purchased a new moon swatch. We just started talking about moon swatches and whatnot. This is a great way to meet people because that's a habit a lot of them have. Number 3, and this is a very odd one, it's losing 70% of what you make. And I'm not talking about taxes. This is actually about investing. To be fair, the money I make, around 70% of that goes away. It's not touched by Uncle Sam or someone like that. Instead, it goes into investments. It might not go into investments right away. It might sit at a bank account until we find a property to buy or stocks to invest in, crypto to buy. Right now, actually, me and my business partner, we're looking at a property to buy. And ultimately, if we buy this property, we're gonna have around 9,000 euros cash flow for the next 10 years because they already signed a deal with an existing tenant. But this is actually a very simple habit you can do yourself to start to get wealthier. Set up separate bank accounts where once you make your money, your salary, whatever it might be, immediately 30%, 50%, however much you make and however spare cash you have, it goes into separate bank accounts you don't touch. And then after a while, you can log into it once a month and just use that for investments. This will make you live a bit more frugally, but to be fair, your goal should be to make more money. And if your lifestyle is basically taking up all your income, you need to figure out ways on how you can make more so then you can have access to start investing. If you're not at that point yet, you might need to start to level up. You need to educate yourself. You need to build more skills. And I know it's easier said than done, but that is the process. If you already have some money sitting down, and this is not financial advice, but what I personally do with that is I would put it in S&P 500. Right now, I'm actually not investing that much because I'm collecting cash for real estate deals. What a lot of smart people do is around 80% of that, as Warren Buffett said, it goes into safe investments, and then the rest would go into exploration. And this is very important. If you're investing your money, whatever you're doing, you're spending money on marketing, investing your money, you need to have, your exploitation budget and your exploration budget. Exploitation means finding things that works. For example, the S&P 500. Historically, you get around 8% a year, so it's a very safe investment. And around 20% of that can go into exploration, more risky stuff, crypto, so on and so forth. But you gotta realize that that's money you're ready to lose. When you're younger, you can swap these numbers out a little bit more. For me, around 40% goes into more risky stuff, more stuff where it's like crypto, top 50 coins, but still it's not as safe as, S&P 500 would be. Another tip for investing is start when you're 50, 100k liquid, because before that, what you should be focusing on is increasing your income. If you're making less than 100k a year, just focus on increasing your income. And how can you do that? It's by watching videos like these. Also, not just buying courses, but buying skills, figuring out the thing, the vehicle that will make you the most amount of money. You can also look at leverage. If you live in the US, you have a lot of great leverage options where even under $20,000, you can buy houses, you can buy properties and start renting them out, and that can become your business long term. But if you're just looking at the stock marketing, you don't have great leverage options or you can't leverage credit, it can be very difficult to just make money with these investments. So for you, I'd recommend you to invest your money in yourself. This is a bit cliche, but don't immediately think courses. You can start thinking about different skills you can learn. You can start thinking about maybe different in real life classes you can learn. If you don't have that much money, invest your time. The same thing you're doing right now, invest your time into watching videos. Number 4, avoid being poor. Being poor is not about your income, it's about your habits. The rich people, the way they stay rich is by avoiding poor decisions. You don't see a bunch of rich people going out there and buying the scratch-off lottery tickets. It's a very, very risky investment per se. A lot of poor people, they would take a lot of risk, whereas with rich people, they would take calculated risk. And the difference is most poor people, they would just wish for luck, wish for the slimmest chance of them making it, whereas with rich people, they look at calculated investments. They might go to Vegas, they might gamble, but they know they gamble with money they can afford to gamble. A great example for this is if you're starting an e-commerce store. Instead of buying a bunch of inventory, a bunch of stock, you can start by dropshipping. That way you don't have inventory. I've actually had friends who got wiped out because they tried to sell a product and they had $30, $50, $100,000 in inventory and they couldn't sell that. If you start with dropshipping, a lot of times you can get product market fit. You could see if the product will be validated, and then you move it into, having inventory, having warehouses, having all this overhead and all these expenses. The same thing is with giving loans. Personally, we just gave out $125,000 to a client of ours to help them buy inventory for their e-commerce business. And the thing with this loan is, it might sound risky because you're being told not to give out loans at all, but in this case, we actually have guarantee. Worst case scenario, if we don't get paid back, we make our money back either way, so there's no risk. And a lot of times the rich people, they look at risks with low downside and high upside. A great example for this is hard money lending. Someone might want to buy a real estate property, they need $100,000 a day. You give them those $100,000 with pretty high interest, like 10-12% yearly interest, and if they don't pay you back, you own the property. So essentially, it's very low risk for a high reward. Number 5, focus on development over money. If you're making less than $100,000 a year, you should focus on your development. In my case, right now, what I'm focusing on is mastermind, coaches, and building an audience like this. A lot of people, myself included, what I started doing, I started investing into learning social skills, reading books about specific social skills, not just psychology, but picking out things in your life you struggle. And this a lot of times comes from great self-awareness. For me, I personally never did journaling, but for a lot of people, journaling helps, and having self-awareness is probably the most important thing, and this leads to development. I realize as well that I have a passion for sharing knowledge I have, making these videos, so I decided to start building an audience because that's a productive way of me teaching and coaching people. A lot of people who know me and a lot of people who I know, they might have some questions. I might go on an hour-long call on a tandem and just try to help them solve this specific issue. This past year, we've probably invested around $20,000 going to mastermind. We're going to be flying in October to an event called Money Meetup. So we're investing in a lot of these events because there you can meet a lot of people who, in our case, as we work with e-commerce brands, they're in our field, they're very high level, they're smart, they have successful businesses, and a lot of times we can make great friends. A group of my friends were planning to go to a different country to learn combat skills and, just to be frank, have a lot of fun because a lot of people who are wealthy, who are rich, they have a lot of skills. They're very fun to be around with, they're very intelligent. You can really meet them by you leveling up yourself, and you do this by investing into courses, investing into coaches, investing into learning social skills, learning about watches, cars, I don't know what, shoes. You go into masterminds in real life, meeting people, and if you go to these masterminds and if you don't have the social skill to just spark up a conversation, it'll be very difficult to you. You have to have these different paradigms. You need to keep on improving and to take advantage of all these different things. So this has been it. Hopefully you enjoyed these 5 things that rich people do that you might not know about. If you enjoyed, click like, click subscribe, and comment what do you think. Was there something I missed or something you don't agree with? Comment below.